Hello, Hoops fans. Welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for all things NBA betting. As always, it's your host, Kokan here, and I'm super excited to bring you today's jam-packed episode. We've got a thrilling lineup of today's NBA games, and I'm ready to dive deep with our predictions and insider tips. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just getting into the game, today's episode is tailored just for you. Stay tuned, and let's get into today's NBA betting predictions on Tips and Streams. The first today's prediction is for matchup between Washington Wizards and New York Knicks. In the upcoming showdown at Madison Square Garden, the Washington Wizards are gearing up for a tough battle against the New York Knicks. With a shaky 732 in the standings, the Wizards have been on a bit of a downward spiral, dropping 10 of their last 12 contests. Their defense is in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, letting opponents drop an average of 125.3 points each game, a high in the league. Yet their offense, spearheaded by Kyle Kuzma and Tyus Jones, is holding its own, racking up an average of 115.5 points per matchup. Flipping to the New York Knicks, who are rocking a solid 24-17 record, they're tearing up the court with 7 wins in their last 9 games. Their latest triumph over the Rockets is a testament to their prowess, with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson at the forefront. The Knicks are dominating the boards, leading the league in rebound percentage, a key stat that might just tip the scales against the Wizards. Looking at past face-offs, the Knicks have had the upper hand, especially on their home turf at Madison Square Garden. They've consistently outplayed the Wizards in recent run-ins. However, the Wizards have a knack for beating the odds in spread games, particularly in New York. The Knicks are staring down a back-to-back challenge which could throw a wrench in their rhythm, given their less than impressive track record in such scenarios this season. Nevertheless, their current hot streak and the advantage of playing at home make them formidable opponents in this clash. Analyzing the form and stats, the Knicks are tipped for the win. But with a hefty 12-point spread on the table, the Wizards stand a good chance of staying within the margin, especially considering the Knicks' shaky back-to-back game record and the Wizards' scoring chops. As for the total score, expect a scoreboard light-up, likely surpassing the set line. In the final buzzer, while the Knicks are the likely victors, the Wizards could very well beat the spread, and a high-scoring affair seems to be on the cards, probably eclipsing 236 points. The next today's prediction is for the game between Chicago Bulls and Toronto Raptors. Tonight's showdown at Scotiabank Arena is a slam dunk for basketball fans, with the Toronto Raptors hosting the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, hustling with a 19-23 record, are itching to rebound from their latest loss, but they're up against the Raptors, who, despite a 16-25 stat line, are fierce competitors on their own hardwood. The Raptors have been on fire recently, netting a dominant win against the Heat. Their star players Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, and R.J. Barrett are dropping buckets left and right, making them a tough squad to beat. Even with Pascal Siakam out of the picture, the Raptors are showing they can shake things up and still play hardball. Stat-wise, the Raptors are killing it in points per game, averaging a solid 115.49, blowing past the Bulls' 110.56. They're also shooting lights out with a field goal percentage of 48.36%, outshining the Bulls' 45.88%. While both teams are neck and neck in three-pointers, the Raptors have the upper hand in dishing out assists, averaging 29.54 per game, a significant lead over the Bulls' 24.10. Looking at the trends, we're gearing up for a nail-biter. The Bulls have been fumbling against the spread in recent matchups against the Raptors and on the road. On the flip side, the Raptors have been strong contenders against the spread in their latest games and have a solid track record at home versus the Bulls. In their direct face-offs, the Bulls have had the upper hand lately, but the Raptors have held their ground, especially on their turf. Combined with the urgency to bounce back in this consecutive game setting, the Raptors might just have that extra zest. The Raptors stand a good chance of beating the plus 3-point spread, thanks to their home court vibe, offensive prowess, and grit despite recent team shakeups. They're poised to keep it tight, if not snag a win. As for the total score, considering the defensive plays and recent patterns, it looks like the game might not hit over 226 points. Both teams have had a roller coaster in scoring, and with the Bulls' recent lackluster offense and the Raptors' post-trade adjustments, a lower scoring game seems likely. In summary, While the Bulls have their strong points, the Raptors, with their home court edge and recent form, are likely to cover the 3-point spread. Expect the total points to hover under 226, given the current flow of both teams. The next today's prediction is for the game between Oklahoma City Thunder and Utah Jazz. In the electrifying showdown between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Utah Jazz, hoop fans have got a lot to chew on. The Thunder, boasting a solid 27-13 record, have been tearing it up this season, especially on the offensive end, where they're racking up an impressive 121.9 points per game. Their sharpshooting, with a field goal percentage of 50.5% and a three-point strike rate of 39.1%, speaks volumes about their scoring finesse. On the defensive side, they're masters at snagging 15.8 turnovers per game and lead the league with a free throw accuracy of 83.9%. Watch out for heavy hitters like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams to bring their A-game. On the flip side, the Utah Jazz, sitting at 22-20, are a force to reckon with on their home court, holding a dominant 15-5 record. They're riding a 6-game hot streak, including some standout victories against big guns like the 76ers and Bucks. The Jazz are notching up 116.8 points per game with a field goal percentage of 46.8%. Their three-point game is solid at 35.6%, and they're top dogs in the league for clutch performance in the fourth quarter. Key players like Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton are pivotal to their success. Notably, the Thunder are hitting the hardwood for their third game in 4 nights, which might leave them gasping in Utah's high altitude. The Jazz, catching a break with an unexpected rest due to a postponed game against the Warriors, might have the fresher legs. This could tilt the scales, as the Jazz have been killing it on their home turf. Looking at the trends and current form of both squads, the smart money is on the Utah Jazz to beat the 3.5-point spread put up by the bookmakers. This clash is shaping up to be a nail-biter, with the Jazz likely having the upper hand thanks to their recent form, home court mojo, and the Thunder's grueling schedule. As for the total score, it's tipped to be a high-octane affair, but might not hit the lofty 247 mark. Both teams have been lighting up the scoreboard this season, but the unique dynamics of this face-off might lead to a slightly less explosive scoring affair than usual. Wrapping it up, the Utah Jazz are the favorites to beat the plus 4-point spread in this riveting face-off, banking on their stellar home record and the Thunder's packed itinerary. Expect a fierce battle with plenty of fireworks at both ends of the court. The next today's prediction is for the game between Memphis Grizzlies and Minnesota Timberwolves. Tonight's showdown is set at the Target Center, where the Memphis Grizzlies are gearing up to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Grizzlies, battling roster hurdles and sitting at 15-25, are still bringing the heat. They've just clinched a victory over the Warriors, with stellar plays from the likes of Vince Williams, G.G. Jackson, and Jaren Jackson Jr. But they're feeling the pinch with Desmond Bane and Ja Morant sidelined. On the flip side, the Timberwolves, boasting a robust 29-11 record, are on a hot streak. They've been steamrolling past squads like the Trailblazers, Clippers, and Pistons, with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns leading the charge. Their home court has been a fortress, and they've got a history of outsmarting the Grizzlies. A twist in tonight's tale is the Timberwolves' back-to-back game. Historically, they've had a mixed bag of results in these back-to-backs, which could sway tonight's outcome. The Grizzlies, despite being the dark horse, have a knack for stepping up under pressure. Digging into the team's recent face-offs, the Timberwolves have had the upper hand, bagging wins in their last 2 clashes with the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies have been beating the odds, hinting they might keep things tighter than expected. Looking at stats like scoring, shooting accuracy, and boards, the Timberwolves have the edge, thanks to their sharp shooting and solid defense. But don't count out the Grizzlies' ability to disrupt plays and their grit in tight games. All things considered, the Timberwolves might snag the win with their strong home game and overall team edge, but the Grizzlies could surprise by covering the hefty 13.5-point spread. They're showing up despite their injury hits, and their defensive prowess could narrow the scoring gap more than anticipated. The total score might skew under 215.5 given the defensive focus of both teams and the Grizzlies' offensive struggles. Wrapping up, the Timberwolves are poised for a home win, but the Grizzlies are set to give them a run for their money, potentially keeping within the significant 13.5-point spread in a matchup that's likely to be lower scoring than the line indicates. The last prediction for today is for the matchup between Indiana Pacers and Sacramento Kings. Get ready for a high-octane showdown as the Indiana Pacers square off against the Sacramento Kings at the Golden One Center. It's going to be a real nail-biter. The Pacers, sporting a decent 23-17 record, are coming in hot, although they've hit a bit of a snag recently, taking some tough losses against powerhouses like the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. Despite the ups and downs, they've been lighting up the scoreboard, dropping an impressive 125.6 points per game, topping the league charts. But their defense is a bit shaky, giving up around 123.5 points on average. The Kings, matching the Pacers with a 23-17 record, are trying to shake off a 3-game skid, including a heartbreaker against the Suns where they blew a massive 22-point lead in the final quarter. Still, they've been scoring big, with an average of 118.2 points a game. Plus, they're in tip-top shape, which might give them a bit of an edge in depth and stamina. For the Pacers, injuries are a real headache right now. They've got a few key players banged up, including Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Nesmith, and Benedict Mathurin, not to mention Pascal Siakam riding the bench. This could really throw a wrench in their game plan, especially against a fully loaded Kings team. Looking at the play styles, both teams love to rack up the points. The Pacers, second in the league for pace, and the Kings, with their sharp shooting from beyond the arc, are set to crank up the scoreboard. The Pacers might find it tough to handle the Kings' deadly three-point game, especially with their shaky defense on the perimeter. Weighing up recent performances, matchups, and team form, it looks like the Kings might have the edge in this clash. Their healthier squad and strong home game could tip the scales, but don't count out the Pacers' explosive offense. They could still beat the spread, especially with the Kings having trouble sealing the deal lately. To sum up, while the Kings are the favorites, the Pacers' dynamic offense and both teams' penchant for high-scoring games point to a score fest. Expect the total points to blast past the 246-point mark, with the Pacers potentially beating the 8.5-point spread in what promises to be a thriller. Just a heads up, this analysis is all about current trends and data, but remember, the sports world is always full of surprises.